Hello and welcome to Look for the Light, a podcast where we dive into the world of The Last of Us. I'm your host, Stuart Trainer, and I'm joined as always by someone who would absolutely climb a dinosaur just to feel alive again. It's Jess Sterling. Jess, how are you doing?
I'm on a mother effing dinosaur!
The most
I'm
relatable
so
part of the episode for you, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. It's not even a question.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I'm so excited to talk about this episode. Mostly loved it. I feel like I come in here saying the same stuff every week, but like 90% loved it, 10% I have some questions. Mainly, where is the rest of the museum? Okay. I need to write a strongly worded letter.
know it was
It
filmed.
was
We
there.
know that it's out there. We've
Give me
seen
the
pictures.
extras. Release
Yeah.
the tapes. Give it to me into my veins.
Give us
But
the
I'm
museum
really
cut, you cowards.
yes, please. I'm really excited to talk about this episode. I feel like some really stellar performances from Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
Just like incredible. And I feel like this episode was needed.
Yes.
Because we're filling in a lot of blanks, and this is also probably the happiest episode we'll ever get of The Last of Us. And so there's sad things, Stuart. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very much the Shakespeare, it was the best of times and it also was the worst of times.
Yes, it really was.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to dive into it.
Crikey. Yeah. A monster episode, really. Like, this is a lot of the season has been leading up to this. A little divisive at times. There's a lot of online discourse, of course, with people that have been having some issues with things up until now. But I'm in agreement with you. I think that for the most of it, I am fully there, going along with what they are giving me. I'm loving it all. I just come away with a couple of questions afterwards. But again, it's what you want from good media, right? You want something that's going to kind of just spark the neurons, get you thinking about it, rather than just, being spoon fed a story. But before we get into things in depth, if you're new here, do make sure that you're subscribed. It really does help us out. So check us out for Look for the Light podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like a more visual experience, we're also on YouTube at Look for the Light podcast there, where you can see our delightful faces alongside quotes from the episode that we splice in here and there. We'd love to hear what you're thinking as well, what your thoughts on the episodes are, what theories you've got, especially what with one episode left. Key time for theories if you've not played the games and you have no idea what's coming up. So you can get in touch with us at lookforthelightpodcast@gmail.com. And don't worry if you are new. We're not going to spoil anything ahead to do with the games or anything that we know that's coming up this season. We're going to cover this episode, but we do have a spoiler section, and it'll be towards the end of the podcast, and we'll flag it up for you, so you don't have to worry about anything there. But for now, Jess, should we get into things?
Let's do it.
Okay, yeah, I've hit you. And I've hit Tommy. But never like that. Not even close. I mean, maybe I go too far. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm doing a little better than my father did.
We open with an entirely new scene. A common theme that it seems with this show is that we're using the cold open to establish kind of different aspects to the world and the story. And we open with little baby Joel and Tommy. What was your thoughts on this, Jess?
This is a change that worked for me. It worked really, really well, actually, because it's never anything we would get in the video game. And we're reinforcing the idea of Joel as a protector. And we've known he's protected Tommy his whole life, but I think it's different seeing it actually play out and getting to meet Joel's father, who we don't meet in the video games. So there's really not much about Joel's family beyond obviously Sarah and Tommy. And so getting to see Joel step in, take the heat for something that Tommy has done, and fully, because of the reason of Tommy is afraid that he is going to be abused by their father. And Joel stepping in saying, you're not going to hurt him. And instead of getting hit for like basically Tommy bought some weed, okay? It's the 80s. He bought weed. And Joel thinks that his father's going to hit him, but instead, Javier, who is Joel's father, tells a story about how his own father once broke his jaw for stealing a candy bar, and how, yes, I know I've hit you. I'm not as bad as my father was. And so it's almost like this story of, with each generation, you hope you do better than your parents did for you. I'm fully admit I do not have any sort of past that like Joel or Javier that they're dealing with, but I can relate, as most people can, I think, to the idea of wanting to give your next, next generation a better life than you had. I feel like that was always something that was talked about in our household growing up. And
Mhm.
so I loved this scene because I feel like it explains a lot about who Joel is, why he is the way he is, and how it could be so difficult to separate yourself from violence when you grow up around it. And it is something that is like passed down generationally to you.
Yeah. For me, I think this is such a solid like message because it really is this kind of like small iterations of change and progression. We've seen it what with like kind of and we've talked about it with society's progression when it comes to the acceptance of LGBTQI like kind of issues, but we haven't seen it explored in the cycle of violence and how we are as a generation becoming more, I guess, averse to violence because we kind of recognize that it doesn't solve anything. It's not an effective method for teaching lessons. It's not an effective method for anything, really. It only goes to make things worse in the long run. But it is slow progression, and it is this kind of like it's baby steps, and it's sad that it is. And I think
Yeah.
it's remarkable for this character to observe that and to say, well, at least I'm doing better, and maybe you'll do better in the future. Um, but still to kind of stock down and to take stock and to have this moment where people see themselves for what they are. It was kind of, I thought, incredibly sad as well because imagine the thinking that like I don't want to be this, but I've learnt it and I've inherited it and I don't know anything better. Like it was so tough to hear that from someone who's meant to be in charge, who's meant to be a parent. And
Yeah.
it's kind of strange when they have that moment of sitting down just sharing a beer because it was almost like, right, I'm leveling with you. You're an adult now. You can have a beer with me and we're going to speak frankly as people rather than a parent and a child. That kind of tearing down of that wall was really kind of profound. And I love the way that they showed that with just a really effective use of a very simple prop of just a beer can. I
Yeah.
thought that was really great.
Yeah, especially because, from what little we know and have seen of Joel with Sarah, it does seem like I mean, we don't ever get the impression that he ever raised a hand to her or anything. And so it's like, wow, well, he broke the cycle of violence. And you kind of then look at everything that happens with Outbreak Day as pulling him back onto that violent path because he feels like he had no other choice, and because Sarah's death broke him in a way that he
Hmm.
couldn't be repaired, and because he felt like he always was still looking out for Tommy, right? When you are putting yourself in that protector role, I think it is much easier then to kind of resort to violence to get your way or to protect someone. And so I think it's so interesting that we get to see a moment where Joel is having such a frank conversation with his father. And I love a full circle moment. I love a parallel. I love a mirror. And having this be the
Hmm.
first scene and then him telling Ellie, like, if you ever have a kid, I hope you do better than me. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
episode, it bookends the episode in such a beautiful way, especially because we're really jumping around a lot in this episode. And so to have those two like anchor points, I really enjoyed it. This is one of those additions to the show that I really appreciate and think makes perfect sense. It fits so beautifully that it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah. And I think as well, it does such a great way of talking about the theme of violence, but it also like goes to show that Joel learns one lesson at least generationally, and he doesn't extend that cycle of violence towards his own kid. He doesn't extend it towards Ellie. He does exhibit the violence when it comes out through the events of the outbreak and everything that follows afterwards. But what he doesn't shake off and what he doesn't come to recognize is he has a savior complex. And that will never go away because he hasn't recognized it. And and I think that's the thing, is that I don't think Ellie is going to come away from her relationship with Joel coming away crying violence is bad, because Ellie has been protected by violence, and perhaps that might even be a good thing. I think what Ellie is going to come back to and is going to learn from is you can't control other people to keep them safe. Like, control and giving people agency is essential. This whole thing was a battle between, I think, this belief of yes, I'm doing better, but being completely blind to what you're not doing better. And it's just to get all of that from a cold open that is, I think in any other show would be like, oh, here's a bit of stunt casting to like get some views and stuff like that. No, everything is so profound and so well done. Not to mention that there's a certain, I think this episode stands out compared to others as having a real look to it that is very unique. Like, it all still looks the same in terms of like they haven't dramatically changed the way that things are shot, but there just seems to be this almost, I guess, calm vibe from every shot. Like, nothing was like frenetic. Everything wasn't on a shaky cam or anything like that. We were just allowed to like exist in this scene and other scenes that will come and just settle and breathe, and everything felt smooth and calm. And I'm not sure if that's the nature of the whole flashback thing, but I was just really kind of high on that immediately because I felt like I was settling in to just be like, right, okay, I can just enjoy this retrospective of everyone's life and just see what's happened. I didn't feel like I had to have anxiety for stuff. I did, but I was kind of at
It's not the
first,
show's
at least, I
fault.
was
That's
settled
just
in quite
inherent.
easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just it's just that.
But yeah, the other small thing that we get in this scene is when Joel's father puts his hand on his son's shoulder, we see Joel's watch, which was originally his father's watch, and obviously not broken due to outbreak day. That's going to come later. But it was a very quick moment. There's like the shot lingers for just a second, and it kind of just reminds you like where it level sets where we are and what is yet to come, and how important that watch is as like a prop piece, right? Like, I'd say if you're making a list of the most iconic visual or like which visual aids or objects in The Last of Us, Joel's watch is definitely up there. So getting to see it before it's even his was really great.
Yeah, I think as well, lending to the whole thing of things being passed down like intergenerationally. You've got the watch that is there, and it is almost like symbolic of Joel protecting Sarah and failing to do so. With Ellie, you have the switchblade that was handed down, which is violence being handed down. It's so well thought out in terms of like these aren't just throwaway things. Like they're such big,
Yeah.
important issues. And for you, when you spotted that, I remember just getting your cat's message going, "That's the watch!" And it was
Yeah.
just such a great catch, and it was such a again a small detail that adds just such an amount of depth that again I don't think other shows would necessarily kind of go to the extent of, which is why I appreciate the show so much.
I was like, here we go, and then I fucking went.
What? Why?
No one saw it. I was on my own. And I took it off, and it was all red and melty and gross. You know what it smelled like? Pork.
Who let this happen?
What do you mean, let? Who saw this coming? I was eating my
Ow.
damn dinner.
It hurts.
Okay.
Ow!
Easy, baby girl. Easy.
Dr. V ran over to the clinic. He's gonna come by here with another shot.
Ellie.
I just really wanted to wear short sleeves again.
We then get back to closer to where we are, at least. We're back in Jackson, and 2 months after their arrival, and Ellie is burning herself intentionally. We've got Joel bartering with things. this was again like this is new scene, an embellishment from what we know that happened with Ellie, and kind of like burning her arm so that the bite mark isn't visible, and it's fleshing out this like small piece of lore and just kind of adding depth to it. How did you feel about this, Jess?
Yeah, while I wasn't excited to see Seth again, because
Yeah.
truly I didn't ever any never needed any more of him than whatever we got. It was nice to see Joel come in, and he, he's a smuggler, so he knows how to barter. And he barters with Seth. He trades him Legos for a cake, a vanilla cake. And we also find out Seth used to be a cop, which all I will say is, yep, that tracks. Um,
Tracks, yep.
and and yeah, Tommy brings Ellie in. She's burnt her arm on purpose to obscure the bite mark. Because and this just broke my heart. I just wanted to wear short sleeves again. It's like, of course she did. Of course she did. To feel like, imagine having something on your forearm that you could never let anyone see, and how conscious of that arm you would have to be at all
Mm-hmm.
times. Of course she did this, but I kind of love, because this isn't what this is, but it reminds me of any modern day show when you have like a teen character who's like had a drink for the first time, or isn't sober for the first time. That's kind of the vibes it's giving, because she comes
Yeah.
upstairs, she's like, whoa, where'd you come from? And then the whole like, I'm sorry, like it's just, and he's like, it's
Yeah.
okay, baby girl. Like it was really funny. And obviously very sad, but like I think the way that Bella Ramsey plays it is so wonderful. Like it's so wonderful that you can kind of see it for some of the silliness that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the cake saying happy birthday, Eli.
Eli.
It's like, really? F all the way off, Seth. Get out of here. It's been 2 months. You can't learn her name. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering, I can't. The relationship between Tommy and Maria, and like this is not just a rando. Anyway,
Yeah.
the one of the moments that made me laugh the hardest, like again, this episode is highs and lows. Made me laugh the hardest is when Joel gets to get a knife to cut the cake and turns around, and Ellie, like an animal, has just shoved her hand in the cake.
It's so wonderful. It's such a great like it's so strange that they can pack in so much like comedy into this, because really like the comedy from the burn shouldn't be there really, but like Bella
Yeah.
Ramsey plays it so perfectly, where it's kind of like she's so endearing, like as she kind of says, "Oh, I'm sorry," but then the moment like kind of we jumped at, but it's like this, it's just funny the way the delivery of it is, like it's just so kind of absurd a little bit, and then to follow that up with the cake, and to have just diving in, and not even just like a fist, it's like two fistfuls and just in the mouth,
It's
like
like a
clearly to make
1-year-old, like
Joel
they do
laugh.
that like smash the cake thing. It's like that,
Mhm.
but she's turning 15. It's
I mean,
wonderful.
how many cakes do you think Ellie has ever had?
That's
This
the
is
thing.
100% got to be the first cake Ellie has ever had in her life, right?
It honestly makes me wonder about the culture, because we talked a lot about like, right, Ellie and Dina don't know what pride is. They don't recognize the rainbow
Yeah.
flag as like a symbol of anything. And it makes me wonder if people even do cakes for their birthdays in this world at this point, right? Like it must be very difficult, because we even hear Seth say like, do you want vanilla or chocolate? Say vanilla. It's easier. Like getting the
Yeah.
ingredients sourced to make a cake, let alone having the like downtime, the oven to do it all, right? Like these things aren't easy to come by. So she probably
Processed
hasn't had.
flour,
Yeah.
sugar, like eggs, I can imagine they can come by, but like milled flour isn't
Especially
like
flour, knowing what we know happened with
comes with
flour.
trauma, I bet, for a lot of people. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I bet many are still on Atkins at this stage after
Yes.
everything that's gone
Yeah.
on.
But yeah, I can't imagine she has had many cakes. And so it's just a lovely moment, followed up by another incredibly lovely moment where she gets gifted the guitar. And we get to see some of the process of Joel like
Yeah.
putting
I
this
was gonna say,
together.
can we please talk about that? Because it was just, firstly, just seeing Joel being kind of artistic in a way. Like in the game, you go through Joel's home at one point, and you see that he's been like kind of whittling away at things and creating all these like little statues out of wood, and like clearly has been indulging in a more artistic and kind of crafty lifestyle now that he's not burdened by being a contractor and having to look after a kid or surviving in the QZ. Like now he can finally live, and he's choosing to do so with really kind of like lovely and productive kind of endeavors. And so, yeah, to pass that free time onto someone as a gift giving exercise and to do so with such care and attention, like trading for it, thinking about it, planning it, and then also doing it in such an expertly way. Like Joel really did such a fine job on that whole thing. And to know that he did the moth engraving as well, and that it wasn't just found and just happens to be a design that matches. Chef's kiss. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, because obviously we're gonna see a lot of Ellie's birthdays in this episode, and I don't Joel's like the best gift giver of all time, truly.
Yeah.
Like because it's not just, "Hey, I remember that I said I would teach you to play guitar. Here's a guitar." It's, "Here is a
Yeah.
guitar that I kind of made. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I at least enhanced it. I also noticed you like to draw moths, and so I used a Dremel to put one on your guitar." Let me just say, I've used some of the tools that Joel is using to do what he's doing. It is not easy. Obviously,
Mhm.
he's a carpenter contractor by trade, so he probably is more well versed in the tools anyway. But it's still not easy. Moths are very detailed creatures. Like it's,
Yeah.
and so incredible work on his part. And of course, we get the scene where Ellie wants him to sing for her because he did promise. And plays Future Days, and we all died because it was so sweet.
I believe, and I believe 'cause I can see our future days, days of you and me.
Well, that didn't suck.
I love that the version isn't the exact same as Troy Baker's. I like the fact that we get
Yeah.
a different version. Troy, like both are fantastic. Um, and again, this is the problem with kind of retreading the same ground that's been done in the game, is that you kind of worry, are we just going to do things shot for shot? Are we going to get something new? And this just goes to show that like two people can approach the same thing in the same directions and still come out with something that's very different. I love the way in which it was passed on, and just that look that Ellie gives Joel of just like, "Wow, I'm really lucky to have you in my life," and just forget about all of the doubts and everything that's happened up until then, because obviously the lie is still really kind of early. It kind of hasn't percolated as long as it has. Oh, it was such a. Can we just live in this moment, please? Like, can we not have the after and the before? Just this? Oh, it would be so lovely.
Yeah. It was really beautiful, and I love that we had Pedro Pascal singing it. I feel like
Mhm.
this is a real change to back in the 90s or maybe even early aughts, we probably would have had someone else come in to sing for Pedro Pascal. Like it probably would not have been
Yeah.
his voice. It probably would have been enhanced and like really, not that I'm not calling Pedro Pascal a bad singer. It's not like a trained singer. He's not a trained singing artist in that way, but it feels more real because it's not pitch
Mhm.
perfect. And the fact that Ellie still has that just like pure joy on her face at getting to hear him sing a song that also is just like, listen to the lyrics of that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is so wonderful. Yeah, I didn't even care. Like certain scenes from the video game, in my opinion, should be shot for shot. Like should be as identical as they can make them, with the
Mhm.
actors maybe putting a slight different spin on the way they're portraying it, because they're so successful in the game. Why are you changing them? And this is one of those moments that they did. It was such service to the game itself. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of that fan service in this episode. I mean, for the fact that it was directed by Neil Druckmann, and Neil Druckmann is the one that fought hardest to make sure that this was included. For Neil, he said in the official podcast that it's like such a deeply personal song to him that he would sing it to his kid as well. And so like you can see why that is so important. And I think it's also deeply important for like the issue of like parallels. Like we talked about the use of props and the like switchblade and the watch being handed down generationally. We also get perhaps not handed down generationally, but handed off to someone else as a way of displaying love. We get Ellie playing for Dina and having that performance and showing vulnerability that way. This is Ellie. This is Ellie learning how to display affection and love for someone, this is how you become vulnerable to someone. And it's so great to see how that learned behavior has been passed on, and it not just be this manifested thing because it's kind of cute and a bit kind of it's scenic and it makes sense for it because they're in the music
Yeah.
store. It's like no, there's reasoning for it, and it all flows through so logically and so well done. I think this was utterly essential, and even the width of it being cut for time and maybe being considered by some as being not essential is sacrilegious to me. I would riot if this wasn't in the whole show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there was something that, in my opinion, was a little sacrilegious to cut, but that's just me. I'm okay.
I mean, we're gonna get there, unfortunately.
I do okay?
Are you kidding me?
We cut forth to Ellie's 16th birthday, and Joel's surprising her with. If you didn't think the gift giving could get better, I would understand.
Yeah.
But this, like, how? It's so perfect and so good. It shows Ellie dinosaurs, space. She gets to climb a dinosaur. She gets to go into space in her mind, but she gets to go into space. This was perfect, except for one thing, which was obviously that we didn't get the Matchy going around the dinosaur exhibit and stuff. Jess, now I'm going to beg you here. Let's not tarnish this entire scene just because of this one for failing. We can get it out of the way. We can talk about it. But we
I just don't understand why, if you fail, like if you cut it because you didn't even have the set, like you didn't build it, you just decided the T-Rex was enough because Ellie's true love is space. I would understand, okay? But I think it's the fact that we had Joel's nephew in the dinosaur like outfit. We had the hat that we know he got from the museum. Like there were all these little breadcrumbs. And I was just like, well, they have to do it. There's so many breadcrumbs. And to go from seeing the T-Rex outside, which is my favorite moment playing the games. And like it's not close. I jumped off of that T-Rex multiple times in the game because there's water surrounding it in the video game. I love that moment. I love it so much. I just am a little sad. Maybe I'm devastated that we didn't get Ellie with the hat throwing it on the dinosaurs. Like it's just because it's more just like fun, cute moments with them. And like I just loved it. Like it shows Ellie knows what she's talking about too. There's also Jurassic Park references made in the video game in that moment. And it's just my favorite. So I was really sad to see that cut. But this is my favorite moment from both video games. And so I do feel like they did get the essence of it. You know, we did get the T-Rex. And then, of course, we got the space shuttle. And all of that stuff is like, that's the meat, right? Everything else is just side dishes. The meat they did have. And they did it beautifully. Like, so I can't hate on it too much. Joel gets her not only a trip to a freaking space and dinosaur museum, which are like two of Ellie's favorite things, but then also gifts her with this cassette that, how long did he search for this? He was probably been searching since her 15th freaking birthday for this
Yeah.
tape that has the Apollo, was it 11 launch?
11 launch, 15 capsule, yeah.
Right. And the way they shot this, Stuart, was so beautiful with the light, and like, Bella Ramsey, stop being so good at everything, okay?
Mhm.
Oh, it was so
It
good.
was phenomenal. Like it's again, to quote the official podcast, like they talked about Naughty Dog, who are the developers of the video game, turning up to this scene, like particular people that had been involved in the making of the game, and looking at the set and it just being identical to the game, to the point where
Mhm.
people were getting really emotional because they know what this scene means. It's probably the height of the kind of like Ellie and Joel relationship, because it is the sweetest moment,
Yeah.
and it's the most kind of the most profound thing that I guess you can give someone. Is like, well, if you can't go into space, I'm going to give you the next best thing, which is like getting you to believe for a moment that you're in a shuttle and you're going up
Yeah.
there. It's wonderful. The fact that we get additional details as well that kind of just adds a little bit of seasoning to this, which is Joel, which makes sense because in the game, like you think about the practicality of it, there's the whole hand crank, and Joel greases it beforehand to ensure that it works when they get there. Like, it's small little touches like that that just make this wonderful. And then not only that, but to have the searching of the tape, which, like you say, must have taken forever, and to Ellie to receive it, to be so on board with it, and then to have it be almost exactly like the game in terms of how she closes her eyes and imagines it, and the lighting effect. And I think for me, being someone that prefers things to be more practically filmed, hearing that it was practical effects from actual lights that were on two cranes that was
Mhm.
choreographed specifically for this is love on screen. This is like love for the craft, and I'm so here for it. Like,
Yeah.
keep creative and great people working and employed, because this is the kind of stuff that we get from it. Oh, so
Yeah.
happy.
This is why whenever I hear that they're making an adaptation of something that I love, be it a video game, a book, whatever, to a movie or a television show, if I hear that the original creator is involved, I'm always put a little bit more at ease,
Yeah.
because they are way more likely, they just have more care. They care about the finished product and making sure that it doesn't have to be one for one, but that it maintains the soul of the source material. And
Mhm.
obviously, in this case, they went above and beyond to make sure that such an important scene was captured as true to the original source material as it could be, and adding that in that little, like, yeah, he greased the wheel. Like, it's perfect. You never see Joel or Ellie looking as happy as they do in this moment, because, and I remember in the after the episode thing, they were talking about how much joy it could bring someone to make someone else happy.
Mhm.
And that's so true. It's even, times it by a billion if it's someone that you love, and like, I'm sure times it by another billion if it's your kid. Um it's just so wonderful. And you have to imagine knowing that Joel loses Sarah before she gets to 16. Um like, he's getting to do things that he would have been able to do with Sarah now
Mhm.
with someone. And obviously, there's a bittersweetness to all of that, but it's just so lovely to get to see Joel as a dad, just being a dad. Like, we're going to pretend the apocalypse hasn't happened and he just gets to be a dad giving his daughter a really great 16th birthday.
It's awful because it's a continual reminder that had this outbreak not happened, Joel would be living his best life. Like, it might be fraught with struggle of like employment and the day-to-day reality of just, life, but
Yeah.
still he wouldn't be a violent person. He wouldn't have to grapple with that decision. That's what happened. He'd have Sarah, and he'd be a great person, the great dad.
Yeah.
And it's all the more heartbreaking when you see these really kind of lovely moments because obviously it's tinged with that reality that we're living in a world that is drastically and deeply different from the one that we could have had. Um, Not to say that this one that we do have right now is a utopia or anything. Certainly has its problems, but certainly we're not having to like contend with an outbreak that is so bad that we
Yeah.
have to fundamentally kind of rewire our world. Um, this is just I can't gush enough about this scene. I
Yeah.
think if I was allowed to, I would go on for another hour about it, and just it would be myself just repeating over and over again. I loved it so much.
Yeah. One
But I
other
really did.
minor thing from this scene before we move on is I want to give a shout out to them, whoever did like the costuming slash makeup, hair, whatever. I think they did a really admirable job at making Bella Ramsey appear younger than they
Mhm,
are
yeah.
because this is a flashback, especially all of the flashbacks. I really thought they did a great job with Ellie's hair, her demeanor. That's on Bella Ramsey, did a great job. And then also just like the costuming, it really does feel like we're looking at a younger version of Ellie, which can be challenging when you have someone growing up and like it's been multiple years since
Mhm.
season 1. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out. I thought they did a great job.
A really good point as well is that people have noticed that during the guitar scene, you actually can get a glimpse, and now people are claiming it's an earpiece. I don't think it is, of a hearing aid in Joel's right ear as well, which again, tiny little detail, but of course he would do
Wow.
that because of everything that's going on. Which again, like just shout out to the production and the
Yeah.
costuming, everything. It's like they clearly care enough to show in like that much detail.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
The hell you doing?
Moving into the garage.
The hell you are, Ellie. Let go. It's the middle of the night. It's pissing rain out there. Now get this back on the bed. There's no heat or running water in the garage. You can't stay there.
Okay, fine.
Okay, you want to have this conversation? Fine. You may not like the rules, but this is my house.
No, it isn't. You don't own it. They gave it to you. Sorry, to us. You don't own anything.
Sadly, things aren't as happy forever though, as just a year later, on Ellie's 17th birthday, Ellie's doing some real teenage shit. Ellie is in bed getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Drugs,
badass.
tattoos, sex, the trifecta, baby. And of
Yeah.
course, I couldn't help but notice Joel this time has a chocolate cake. So he was able to get chocolate for this cake. It says happy birthday, Ellie. Like Seth is improving. The design is looking great, assuming he got these from Seth. Um
Yeah.
and Joel is pissed immediately. And it's like, again, we talked about this a little bit before, but like he never experienced these years with Sarah. Like at the point in which she died, it was kind of before the most of the teen drama happens, right? Like you hit a
Yeah.
specific age where it's like your parents are suddenly the dumbest people in the world. They're never going to understand you. Sarah didn't really get to that point. She maybe wouldn't have, right? Like I think having a single parent also may change that dynamic a bit, but Ellie has hit that point, and Joel comes in and he has this attitude immediately, like, "I can't believe you,"
Mhm.
like yelling at Kat to get out of there. Like, can't believe that Ellie is like has the audacity to like smoke weed and get a tattoo while messing around with Kat. Um, and Ellie is very frustrated with Joel. It's like this is the first we've seen of them having more tension on Ellie's birthday, for I'm assuming a number of reasons, not the least of which is what happened in Salt Lake City. But I want to ask you, Stuart, because this is something we talked about a lot on the podcast, specifically in regards to changes between the game and the show. I always felt like in the game, Joel was more aware of Ellie's sexuality, not even like explicitly, but I feel like maybe he had kind of sort of figured it out along the way. What did you make of Joel here basically accusing Ellie of like just messing around with girls for fun?
I see. In the game, there is a scene that we don't get, and I don't think we're going to get, which is where they go off in search of guitar strings together,
Right.
And in doing so, they go through a hotel and they find two people that left Jackson and were attacked by infected and had to end it there and then. And on that journey, there is a conversation between John and Ellie, which is the Jesse conversation, where Joel
Yeah.
is kind of like, "Oh, I've seen you talk to him," and we
Yeah.
get that in the museum this time round. We get that conversation earlier. Now, I think the TV show is so much better in how it is handled because Game Ellie is a bit more shy, even around Joel. Like there is that kind of like goofing around, but Game Ellie is almost, I think, a smidge more mature because there's like I feel like we're constantly getting the sensation that she's constantly grieving for everything that happened in Salt Lake,
Yeah.
whereas TV Ellie is a bit more Joel-like in the sense that I think there's very much a lot of compartmentalizing of emotions going on, and so there is still an avenue for goofing off. And I think it's also kind of necessary to show the aging difference. To like
Mhm.
when goofing off, it's very much like, well, this is young Ellie, and or this is Ellie just avoiding all the issues, Ellie. But there is that conversation where that's the shared one that is Joel assuming that Ellie has a crush on Jesse and not quite
Mhm.
getting it. And I think it is this realization that Joel comes to in time, and it just takes him quite a while. I think video game wise, I don't think Joel really clicks properly until
Yeah.
the barn dance, and he
That's
sees
fair.
what's
I guess
happening.
I was thinking of that conversation they have about Sally Ride, and I had assumed
Mhm.
that Joel was, but maybe Joel is just like a big dummy who like doesn't get it. It's just more of it. I read it as this is more of we're getting an people struggling with LGBTQ identities in this world, like we got with Dina's mom and all of that.
Mhm.
And it's, and again, I can't be mad, you know, Joel is an older guy before a lot of progressive things happened in the world. Outbreak Day happened. He's from Texas, which like, you know,
Yeah.
certain places in Texas are very LGBTQ friendly. But I don't know exactly where he was from in Texas, but like it tracks that he would say something like that and not get it, and that would just put an even more distance between him and Ellie when there already is some, right? Like the very end of the last scene we saw, which was a full year before this, is Ellie, you know, losing a moment of happiness when she sees some fireflies in the distance, like very obviously reminding her of what happened in Salt Lake City. And so you have
Yeah.
to imagine that time has allowed that to fester even more, right? These unanswered
Yes.
questions have had even more time to take root in her. Yeah, it was just something I noticed because I was like, oh, I never want characters I love to be like unaccepting, and it always frustrates me when they are,
Mhm.
even though I can admit that like, yeah, it's a very real world thing, and like even people I love dearly hold opinions I don't agree with. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's again to kind of rely on this crux a little bit. It's complex. I think that it's a number of different things. I think that it's certainly a societal thing that Joel has learned. Like Joel is not of a generation that has experienced like in the last 20 years, thanks to the internet and thanks to like you know social progression, things are better, not great, but better than they were for LGBT issues. But when it comes to this, I don't think that the delivery is a bit of a gray area because it's like, and you're experimenting with girls. I don't think that that is Joel being offended or outraged. I think it's more him being confused because he's built this mental image of, well, she has a crush on Jesse. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
that that
true.
I think is going against. But it could be one of both kind of interpretations. And I think that again, like it doesn't for me at least, it doesn't kind of define Joel in that one statement. I don't think anyone can be defined by something that they say in a one-off, especially in the heat of the moment. Yeah, it possibly is a projection of something that is a deeply held kind of subconscious kind of belief, but then also people articulate stuff that they don't fully understand or really process.
Yeah.
And what I do like to take from people is what they become, what they kind of do say. And what he says towards the end is not progressive. It's just, human, which is just like, oh, if Dina makes you happy, then I'm glad of that. I'm happy for that. So I kind of, yeah, I don't want to, in terms of my interpretation, I don't want to rule on either way. I'm happy with it being kind of vague to either. I lean more towards it being him just being confused because he has his own mental image of what he thought life was going to be. And I think that in this whole scene, that whole mental image, not just Ellie's sexuality and who she has a crush on, I think his whole belief of Ellie being his kid is just come crashing down because she's being rebellious.
She's getting tattoos. She's doing drugs. Like, all of these things are so jarring for him. And to the point where he feels like he doesn't know all of Ellie anymore. Ellie certainly feels that way about him because of everything with Salt Lake City. So she wants to move into the garage, and she plans this. Doesn't even plan it, I shouldn't say. She just decides she's going to do it in the middle of and I quote Joel, "It's pissing down rain out there," which I hate. I know it's a saying. I can still hate it because it's disgusting. But she's like, "I'm gonna move my mattress in the middle of a rainstorm," and he's like, "There's no heat out there. Like, at least let me clean it up, right? Like, at least let me clean it up for you." And I think he makes this decision that ultimately she can move into the garage because he's at a bit of a loss as to what to do with her, and I think he thinks, well, maybe some distance will help us. But we know it has the opposite effect. It just makes them even further apart. It's really sad seeing Ellie pack up all of her things. And we see the extent of the moths, right? Like the moths being something she almost obsessively is drawing. And God, when I saw the one drawing of all the moths and it just saying you have a greater purpose, like in the midst of all of them, it is devastating to feel like that Ellie felt like her entire purpose was ripped away from her, and that all these deaths, like, she could have prevented if Joel had not stepped in. I really, they're such small moments, but I feel like they pack a huge punch because we also get the scene where Gale reveals that moths are symbolic of death, which isn't funny, but it's very funny.
It's Gale's just. A lot of people have been down on the amount of Gale that we've had in lieu of other things that have been cut, and obviously kind of shoehorning in a new character. I don't care for this scene in the slightest. It was hilarious. Like the whole do I have a sign up that the doctor's in?
Is there a doctor is in sign on me, like Lucy from fucking Peanuts is what she says. I understand. Listen, if I could not have this Gale scene and instead have the entirety of the dinosaur museum, obviously I would make that trade. But I do think it's helpful to have Joel bouncing this off of somebody and finding out that moths are not symbolic of, as he says, growing and change and such. No, they're symbolic of death. And that is concerning. That is what Ellie, because Ellie even says, oh, it's a symbolic thing. Like, she doesn't say, I just like moths and I like to draw them. She says it's symbolic. So she, we assume, knows what that means. It's great. Gale cracked me up. I love that. She's so irritated. I loved it.
It's so irritating. Oh gosh. There was a detail as well. The book that Gale is reading, the name of it is absolutely eluding me right now. I'm trying to find it, but I can't. But it's one of the inspirations of post-apocalyptic world books that inspired a lot of the reading around.
It's something abides. Well. The word abide is in there.
Yeah, from like the I think it's like from the 40s or anything. Again, another great kind of moment for an Easter egg to like throw that in. And a great way of obviously kind of reminding us of Gale and Gale's relationship within Jackson, because of course that sets up what's to come next.
It's beautiful.
I need you to not turn around.
No. You can't do this to me. Joel,
If you have last words for her, I'll pass them along.
last words for her. No, I need her last words. For me.
We flash forward to Ellie's 19th birthday, and Joel, ever delightful as he is, decrees that Ellie, being 19 years old, is finally allowed to do something. Outrageous
This
that
is
he
some
has control.
nonsense.
Yeah.
This is some nonsense because we know, based on these flashbacks in this very episode, Ellie on her 16th birthday, so yes, count them 3 years ago, was like, hey, Jesse started patrolling at 16. Can I patrol? And Joel says, oh, you just have to have some patience. 3 years? And legally, she is an adult at 18, according to US law, if that is still the thing that they're following in this world. This is some nonsense. And we know, obviously, Joel, we've seen it throughout many episodes in Jackson, Joel's word matters, that most people won't make a move, won't allow Ellie to do things without Joel consenting. I was already heated. I was already a little annoyed with Joel. I'm like, Joel, why? But, yeah, now he says, okay, it's your 19th birthday. Let's go patrol. You're now a partner. But before that, Ellie rehearsing the questions was, the thing is she's had now, 5 years to think about this, or 4-ish, whatever, a number of years to ruminate on Joel's lie and how many holes you can poke in it. And she wants to ask those questions. And the way she approaches it feels like almost similar to how Jesse suggests that she approach town council, which is writing everything down, because she's not coming at it from a place of, well, you told me this and you said this. It's very methodical. Okay, number one, I just want to understand, right? Like it's really methodical, but all of that goes out the window the minute he's like, let's go patrol. She's like, all right, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think it's great to show that obviously these questions have been percolating, and Ellie is framing them from a calm and considered conversation of just like, I just want to know the answers. But it's when that is kind of ripped away and that Joel presents happy fun time Joel, not Uncle Grumpy Joel, that then she, it's almost like has blinkers on a little bit, because it's like, oh great, this is fantastic, and maybe kind of might be able to yield something a little bit better, or at least enjoy the patrol at the very least. I've got to shout out the direction for this whole scene as they actually do go out on patrol. This was stunning. Like the environment, the way in which all the camera shots were just so elegant, and like the top down shots as well. There was just, it could have been simpler. Like it could have been just, I felt like this was just a nice touch of class to the whole thing, to remind us that we're watching like a premiere HBO show here, not just people fucking around in the woods on horses. Like this was a really well thought out kind of like sequence. Even if it was ruined by production gaff, someone's done a screen grab of it, and you can see one of the crew just in the woods as Joel's riding by. It's like a
hilarious
full, it's not quite as Starbucks cup level on Game of Thrones bad, but maybe, I don't know, maybe there is a Jackson Forager that they went past. Maybe we'll explain it away
funny.
That way.
It just reminds me that we're all human, people make mistakes, and that's okay. Yeah.
But it was great to see them actually out on patrol, Joel actually teaching. We get a smidge of this in the game in the precursor to the whole go and get guitar strings stuff, where Ellie and Tommy are sniping, which we got earlier in this season. And it's kind of like this whole seems to be the era where Ellie is being taught the ropes. So I'm glad that we actually got to see what they're meant to be doing on patrol, which is not the absolute bumfuck that they do with Dina and Kat earlier in this season.
And it's not just taking your it's not taking your binoculars out to see a big squirrel having sex with a little squirrel.
No, I don't think it is that.
Yeah, and this is where we get the Eugene stuff that I think we've all been waiting for. They've hinted at it a
Mhm.
lot in this season of like the thing that happened with Eugene and why is Gail so mad at Joel and like what exactly happened with Eugene. And I think this was one of the things that we were like questioning the most, Stuart, is like trying to guess what they were going to do with Eugene, because
Yeah.
this is night and day from the video game, where in the video game he dies of a stroke. Like he is one of the only ones to die by normal means in this world.
Mhm.
Most people don't get such a I don't want to say a pleasant death, but like a nice way out.
Yeah.
They changed it for the show, so now Eugene has been bitten. He's dying. He's not there yet, and he wants to see Gail one last time. He says, "You could watch me the whole time. I have enough time. Let's go to the barricade, the wall. I need to say goodbye to her. I'll stand far away from her." Ellie does the test on him. This is fun. Like this is throwback of like put your hand out and
Great
count to
callback.
10. Yeah.
Mhm.
Really great callback. And so Joel tells Ellie to go get the horses and he'll wait here and they'll bring him back. After Ellie fights, right? She says like he has enough time. Let him see his wife, Joel. And he says, "Okay, I promise." And we do see, and I kind of called it when it was happening because I saw Ellie like do like almost like a double take when he says "I promise," right? Like she hesitates for just a moment before leaving to go
Mhm.
get the horses. And this is going to be the impetus for their huge fight. This is where we start, I think, really, really changing from what happened in the video game in terms of timing of everything. What did you think of this? Especially Joey Pants making his debut as Eugene in this scene.
Uh, Incredible. Joe Pants was, I think, some really great casting for this. Like a big name, but not really playing to type. Really, like Joe Pants is known for being a bit of a devious shit when it comes to like certain casting choices.
Yeah,
Um,
Sopranos being numero uno for me.
I was thinking Matrix. I was like, how dare you, Cypher? I'll always
Oh,
remember.
see, I've only seen The Matrix once, so I don't remember enough about. I'm gonna offend people. I'm so sorry. I just I can't even look at you in the eyes right now.
Wow.
I have
Yes,
seen it
we're gonna
though.
have to
Do I get
fix
any
that.
credit for having at least
I
seen
mean,
it?
I guess, but like
Okay.
Matrix is just like for when it was released, it was just such a thing, like cultural zeitgeist thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
understand
I
anyone
didn't
that
see
didn't
The
watch it
Matrix
once.
until way later, until there were like multiple of them, and then yeah.
Uh,
It's
yeah,
a car movie. It's an action movie. You know, it's not.
it is
Anyway.
not a car movie. How dare you? Oh crikey! I
Mm.
realized like it's somewhat tinged what with the kind of like I guess very internety guy film and stuff like that. But like
It's a boy
there's a lot of
movie.
it's not. It's made by
I'm
two
just
trans
kidding.
women. It's like it's such a
Gender
progressive
is a
movie.
construct.
Anyway, but
Yeah, Joey
what was
Pants.
actually quite funny though is that Ellie was meant to have a Matrix poster in her room, and they were like,
That
"Nope,
is
we're taking
funny.
that down because it was like it's too close. Like it's one thing to have
Yeah.
a song that wasn't released that like we're just kind of shoehorn that in, but to
Yeah.
have Eugene
Joey
on a
Pants.
movie poster is just I think it's a bridge too far
That's
for
too
them,
funny.
which made me laugh so much. But yeah, some great a great casting choice, I thought. I think that he's like his delivery of the lines that he was given were just phenomenal. Like he's quite they said that apparently he wanted to go through the whole revelation of everything and just almost like go childlike just from the fear of everything and just be like having not a tantrum but just being like I need my comfort, like I need my thing. And the way in which he portrayed that whilst being incredibly endearing was just phenomenal. The lie and how Pedro Pascal just manages to have that exact same face every time he does lie and have it be recognizable. It was just so good. And it was a look of absolute recognition from Ellie's face as well. Just like, that looks familiar, but it's not been confirmed. It's the whole thing of like,
This is like
once
the
is an
test.
occurrence, twice is a coincidence, and 3 times is a confirmation. And we get that
Wow.
third time when it comes to Gale. It was so great to get the like confirmations in that kind of sequence of things. And yeah, like you said, this is the test. This is the kind of like, well, okay, we'll see what happens with this.
Yeah.
Brutal, brutal scene. The way in which they take the kind of route, and again that we're given sight of a third lie because we see the face when Joel lies to Eugene and goes where he's given like a real choice. He's like, well, which direction? And he's like left or right kind of thing, and he
Yeah.
chooses right, and then that's when Joel lies to Eugene, and we see that same face. I thought was such a great like touch to show it to us as the audience first before Ellie is shown the
Yes.
lie confirmation. Oh,
And you
brilliant.
can kind of see it coming, like all of the pausing. I think the
Yeah.
hesitation is enough for us to be like, there's just no way. I mean, obviously, without
Mhm.
all the promo material, there's just no way he's letting Eugene come back to Jackson. And it's really awful. It's big look at the flowers, Lenny energy.
Yeah.
And I loved Eugene just saying, I don't need to see Gail for her. I need it for me. Like, I don't
Mhm.
need to say things to her. I need to hear what she has to say to me. It's heartbreaking. It is, and it is, you just imagine what Joel would do if this was him or Ellie that were in this situation. You know what I mean? And he can't think like that. He has to compartmentalize and be like, I'm keeping everyone safe. This is a smart thing to do.
Mhm.
But it feels wrong. Like, it really feels wrong. And Eugene saying, I just need to see her face. I don't need to see nature. I need to see her face. And Joel saying, if you love someone, you can always see their face. And you just imagine him like, he's thinking of Sarah probably in that moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just awful. I really loved the choice to have it be silent and just watch the birds fly away, knowing that
Yeah.
he's
Just this
taken the
like
shot.
very light doof noise, but like
Yeah.
not an actual gunshot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So great.
And Ellie then seeing everything, being very quiet, them dragging Eugene's body, just like Joel's body got dragged all the way
Mhm.
back.
Yep.
It's so hard. I was of at first glance knowing, okay, Eugene does get bit. I was a little disappointed because I did like the aspect in the video game of there's a single person who was able to die of like quote unquote natural causes, right? Like
Mhm.
I loved that. I loved that someone got that. But
Yeah.
I could totally understand, especially after a second watch, I understand more why they did this for the show, why they felt the need to have, like, if for nothing else, to have Joel lie to Ellie, which is what kind of blows everything up. He lies to her again. He promises her and he breaks it again. And to see that, like, Ellie feels so strongly that we could have made it back. I know we could have made it back, and so does Joel. Joel knows they could have made it back in time. And it makes me wonder, Stuart, because we didn't get this in the video game and we're left to kind of put ourselves in Joel's position and wonder what he's thinking. Why do you think he makes this decision to not allow? Is it the simple reason of it's too dangerous? What if something happens? It's safer to kill him out here. Is there another reason? Like, it's just, why not just let Eugene say goodbye to his wife, man?
I think it's because Joel has certainly, I think, a longer experience when it comes to infected, and Joel has been there when people have turned rapidly during an outbreak. He saw how quickly that went. Like it spread like crazy. And I think you've got to consider the trauma of that Ellie doesn't have the experience of. Ellie just knows this from history books. And this is why probably Ellie is doomed to repeat the thing of history because she doesn't understand that context of it. And I think there's an element of that. I think there's also an element of it's just the two of them. They like Eugene and Adam, who were out on patrol, they got blindsided by all of these infected. Who's to say that this won't happen with them? And they're burdened by Eugene as well. So and he is with Ellie, so it comes from a protective thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's procedure. Like Joel is doing the right thing as per the guidance of Jackson. Is that it's an like they're infected.
Yeah.
Jackson, they don't. We have this very kind of like happy clappy view of Jackson in season 2 of like, oh, it's lovely, and yeah, okay, they're under attack, and we Jackson Hole, we like kind of protect it. But our first exposure to Jackson was them being very hyper vigilant with outsiders, to the point where they put dead bodies for the people that tried them out as warnings to people not to come close. When they did approach with Joel and Ellie the first time, they like held guns up at them and had them sniff for infections, and they were going to shoot them on sight if there was even a hint of infection. So yeah, I understand that obviously it's complex because of they know Eugene, but you've got to
Yeah.
protect what you've
This is why
got.
I'm not cut out for this world, Stuart, because I would be Ellie. I would be like, he has time. They've been
Yeah.
married for like, and I think it makes it worse knowing that what we know, that like Gail and Eugene were together for like 30 something years. Like this isn't, and I'm not, this longevity has nothing to do with it, but it's more so they were together in the before times. Like, and they made it through that, and to not allow him or her a proper goodbye, and then to lie to Gail and say that it gives straight up falsehoods, saying that Eugene didn't want to put her in danger, and he had specific words he wanted to say to her that he didn't say. Like, not that he doesn't love her, but like he didn't say any of those things, Joel. It's really awful. And Ellie just, oh, it's so awkward too. Like, I wanted to crawl into my own skin when like everyone's standing there and Ellie's like, no, that's lying. He's lying. That's not what happened. Eugene begged to see you. Like, oh my God. Like, I don't want to hear that. That's way worse. Like, this is awful.
It was I and this is where I'm massively gonna like be on side of the show for the decision making they've done in terms of the pacing of certain decisions and stuff, because a lot of people have said that it's very convenient how, because in the game Ellie has too much of these ideas percolating after everything, not believing Joel, giving Joel another chance to be honest, and Joel chooses to lie again, and that's what prompts Ellie to flee Jackson, go to Salt Lake City, and find answers on her own terms. And that's where she finds a recording which confirms what Joel did. It's like a little dictaphone thing that she's listening back to, and then that's where they have a confrontation with Joel and Ellie. That's been cut, and a lot of people that have been playing the game have been really kind of hypercritical of this change, because what that does is it has the confrontation, and then there's time for it to process
2
and get to the point where we
years.
get to the Porch. Exactly. Whereas with this, I love this for being a very elegant way of bringing in multiple different kind of parts of these flashbacks into one, while also blending it with a real moral like quandary of whether or not Joel did the right thing again. And for it to happen with, for Ellie to not tell Gail the truth because Gail is owed the truth, but for Ellie to do it, to lash out at Joel because Joel is currently getting hugged and is getting kind of praised as being a savior, when Ellie knows that he wasn't a savior. He kind of was for Jackson, but Ellie is seeing it as him taking control, being the kind of white knight, and taking away agency from someone and lying for his own benefit. And that's the impetus for like her to confront this whole situation, to tell the truth. I think this was just some elegant writing. And as much as I haven't quite liked some of the journey points to get to this point, I feel like I'm gonna ignore all of those now, because I feel like it was worth it for this payoff. And this whole time, like we've been saying, let them cook. Let's see where they're going before we kind of like cast judgment. This is exactly why. Because for me, this hit so well. I think this was one of the most like perfectly executed kind of ways in which they could have made everything that they needed to achieve succinct and well done, while also introducing new elements and exploring it a bit further.
Yeah.
Again, like much like the rest of this episode, I can't gush around this choice enough. I think it was phenomenal.
I don't mind the change to Eugene, having him die like this, having Joel lie, and that kind of be what prompts Ellie to call him out on it and recognize that That is the same face I saw before. I'm not just imagining things. I'm not just like making a mountain out of a molehill sort of a thing. I struggle, I think, more than you do with the timeline. And we're about to get to the porch scene, so we'll probably talk about it more there. I almost wish, as much as I'm going to gush about the next scene in terms of the acting, the script, all of it, everything about that scene is glorious and beautiful. I almost wish they have the confrontation about what actually happened in Salt Lake City here after this, because then we have 9 months. We have 9 months for Ellie to digest what Joel did, because in the game she has 2 full years that they are like, they have a splintered relationship. They're not necessarily getting along, and I do think it takes time for Ellie to process it all. Instead, what we get is Ellie gets the truth finally from Joel, and the very next day he's gone. Like, there's almost no time. And not that you can always control all of that stuff, but in the video game she had 2 years, and now we're cutting that to less than 24 hours. And I think it's tough when we get to Ellie saying, I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I would like to try. In that moment, like, I almost wanted her to have more time to process it all and then go to him and say that. And again, I love the porch scene. I wouldn't change anything about it beyond the fact that it is like so close to Joel's death. And I think it's right, because we're 9 months. We're 9 months out from this conversation to the porch scene.
And this is where I'm going to disagree, because I think that the confrontation that Ellie gives to Joel while Gale is like kind of and saying that like he's lying to you, Gale. This is Ellie witnessing Joel lying. Like, she knows for a fact Joel is telling a lie here because she knows the truth. She knows that like this isn't, oh, I think he's lying and I have the confirmation. No, she knows for a fact he's lying, and she recognizes it, and she sees that happen, and it's the confirmation. For me, that's the confrontation. She doesn't need him to tell her that what he did. She knows what he did. She can understand what he did, because the story doesn't make sense. She can go to what logically makes sense, because it, like, she gets certain confirmations on the porch that will come later. But in this moment, I feel like the confrontation is this moment, and that from this point, she then has 9 months to, I guess, percolate on it and to come to that point of possible acceptance, or at least the opening of that possible acceptance.
Yeah.
For me, that's why it works so well, because I take the confrontation to be in this moment. But again, it's not crystal clear. There are some things that aren't fully hashed out.
It's a fair assessment to say that she knows here. I just think there's a little bit of a difference between knowing and having Joel confirm to her the details of everything. Like, there is a little bit of a difference there. And this is like, I don't have a huge issue with this, because again, on a second watch, the Eugene stuff does work for me, and it really does work as a catalyst for Ellie wanting to confront Joel. And you know, if they didn't want to have her go back to Salt Lake City, like, okay, whatever, like, that's fine. I don't mind all that much that she gets the information from somewhere else. I remember once upon a time we were ruminating on like, okay, Eugene is a Firefly, so then he knows, because like that was what we thought was going to happen. I like this better than that. So but let's talk about the porch scene. We had to talk about the porch scene because it's just
sorry. One last thing I will say for the porch scene. One of the reasons why I am so hot on this is something that they touched on in the official pod as well, is that Ellie's words when she does confront everything, the parting words that Ellie gives are, "You swore." Joel's wording to her was, "I promise."
Yeah.
And this is why I think that it hits most for me here, because this is something I picked up when watching as well, is that like she's referring to him, and this is why we had the flashback at the beginning of the season, is to remind us of that particular like wording, is that he swears. And that's her having the confrontation, because he could at that point say, no, no, no. Yes, I lied about this. I'm not lying about that, but he doesn't. And I think that's why I think the confrontation works. He doesn't say it, but he doesn't have to. And I think that's why particularly I think it is. But again, I'm delaying us getting into the most important scene.
Making a cure would have killed you.
Then I was supposed to die. That was my purpose. My life would have fucking mattered, but you took that from me. You took it from everyone.
Yes. And I'll pay the price. Because you're going to turn away from me. But if somehow I had a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Because you're selfish.
Because I love you.
We get to New Year's Eve, and again, we talk about these like little added moments. We've been wanting it, you more so, I think. So we finally
Yeah.
got some more Maria, which I thought
Yeah.
was great. How did you feel about this? This particular
I
scene with
really
Uncle Grumpy?
liked this. Yeah, like Uncle Grumpy, Tommy leaves to go put the kid down, and Maria, I think Maria can sense, Joel and Ellie have been off. She's watching Joel watch Ellie from a distance, like he really wants to go hang out with her, go say hi to her, but he feels like he can't. And I love her saying, like, your family helps you out if you need it. Like, basically just throwing it out there. If you want to talk, if you need anything, I'm here. I really appreciated that. And I think because we talked about the beginning of the season, it's like, why are we not seeing more of Maria and Tommy? Like, they're so integral to the story. Like, they're really important figures in not only Jackson, but just the overall story. And I think this colors more of the reasoning as to why Tommy and Jesse do leave. Hearing Maria say Joel is family, that she doesn't view him as like this extension of Tommy. He is one of them. She apologizes for calling him like a refugee earlier. I thought this was like a helpful little scene. I don't know that, like, again, I don't know that we needed it, but I was happy that we got it, because I've been saying this all season, like, where the heck is Maria? Maria is super important to the story, and I really love show Maria. And I was really happy to see this, because it was just quaint. I don't know, like, getting to call Joel Uncle Grumpy is just the best. I loved it.
I also love just getting like another perspective on the whole thing. Like the fact that, again, because the Barnes scene and stuff, we obviously see it from Ellie's perspective, and like seeing Dina like dancing there. We don't even catch a glimpse that Joel's there from that perspective. And I think it was so interesting to like have that, because all through Joel's perspective, as we kind of like hang around with them, we know that Ellie's there because Joel's kind of watching, and it speaks so much for the differences in perspectives. As like, as far as Ellie's concerned, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. And the
But
same
for
music is
Joel,
playing, which was, I mean, obviously they're going to play the same music, but you know what I mean? I was just happy to have that music back again. Yeah.
So it's good. So we get the confrontation that happens just in the exact same way. I thought for this, though, what was really interesting is that, like, during the whole way in which it happens, in the original shot, we see, like, Dina confronting, but what we see from Joel's perspective, like, through, is, yeah, Dina's confronting Seth, but we actually see Ellie kind of looking away, looking sad, looking dejected, looking embarrassed, which is we didn't get that shot of Ellie's face originally, which speaks so much, because of course Joel is laser focused on Ellie in that scene. It's not the Dina of it all. It's not like the Seth. Like, yeah, okay, he cares for Dina and he has an awareness of Seth being a shit cake maker, but like he is focused just on that. And of course, like when he sees that Seth says what he says, it's just, well, there's straight up, I'm gonna white knight this, save you this, and it goes wrong. We progress through. Obviously, he's playing the guitar at the porch. We see Ellie kind of stand up with like walk up, as we've seen. walk past, but then just as we suspected, turns back, and we get the most pivotal conversation of, I think, the entire series. We get the real kind of like, okay, without even cracking two beers open, we're going to talk to each other like adults here. We're going to really kind of like get things out. And again, we talk about the book ending of the kind of episode themes, this happening. I have no notes. This was perfect. This was
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah. The actors knew what they were doing. They got their assignment and they were like, bet we got this. I also think it's like one of those things where it's like, gosh, like knowing how close Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal got over the first season, them not getting to film as much together in season 2, you have to imagine this was just like a really nice little homecoming for them, even though it was like extremely emotionally fraught. It's everything. Getting to hear Ellie finally ask the questions, and she even does it differently than what she had written down all that time ago, right? She just asks very simply, were there other immune people? Was there a cure? Right? Like very, very simple questions. And you can see how painful it is for Joel to like admit the actual truth, as much as I'm sure he's wanted to say it over the years, like to actually say these true things that he knows could be the end of his relationship with Ellie. For all he knows, she will never forgive him. She will never speak to him again. And that's it. But she has earned the truth. And he admits Ellie is the only one who's immune. The Fireflies were at least working on a cure. He says, yes, they made a cure. We don't know for sure, but we know they were working on one and they felt confident about it. And yeah, he killed everyone, including Marlene, who we know Ellie was like close with, right? Like we know there was a relationship there. And
closest thing to a motherly figure that she had before, like everything in Jackson. Yeah. The connection without her knowing really to Ellie's mom, but like a connection at the very least.
And Ellie is fuming and devastated because she says, you took away my purpose. And we talked a lot about this for season 1, like Ellie's agency, and that the Fireflies and Joel both took away her agency to choose whether or not she wanted to sacrifice herself for the world. And Joel just says that he had to do it. And he says, because I love you in a way you can't understand. And it's weirdly heartbreaking and like fills your heart at the same time. It's so effective. And getting the bookend of him kind of saying to her that if you ever have a kid of your own, like, hope you'll do better than I do. I understand if this is like the end of us, but like, I love you and I had to do it. It's that tiny, like, you just see Joel breaking down. He's so devastated. He thinks this is the end. To get that little glimmer of hope, that tiny, tiny, like, crack in the window of opportunity of Ellie saying, I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I would like to try. It was just everything. And that's all he needs to hear, I think. And this explains so much of what we get. And I think a rewatch will be really rewarding for people, especially if they haven't played the game, to see Ellie the morning after this moment. And it explains a lot more of like, listen, I know everyone's obsessed with me and Joel. Everyone keeps talking about Ellie and Joel. We're fine. We're Ellie and Joel. We'll be okay. Like, this scene was so well acted and so well done. I just wish we had like a little bit more of a break, but between this and Joel's death, but this is what's ringing through Ellie's head when Joel dies, is this was their final conversation, and kind of explains the need for vengeance, you know?
I'm so glad that we got this season. So for context, and I don't think this is a massive game spoiler, but we get this scene towards the very end of the game. This scene comes obviously chronologically, much earlier, but like in the game chronology, it comes at the very end. And so
Yeah.
to get at the end of season 2, many people were thinking that perhaps this was going to be a way in which we get Pedro into season 3. In that scene
Yeah.
that probably came about towards the end of that.
Wishful
Um,
thinking.
Yeah, it certainly changes some things. I think that it has some profound effects of which we'll get into in the spoiler chat. But to speak on why I'm thankful that we get it now is because, for one thing, it's a lot to ask people to wait as long for this. And I don't think that there is. You're going to get a smidge more emotion out of it if it does come at the end of season 3, but I don't think it's quite worth the wait, because I think
Yeah.
that where it hits now, it works in just as well. And I think that because we are, I think, getting to the real motivator for why Ellie is about to break bad. Like, there's a reason why this scene comes and is immediately followed by her returning from having dealt with Nora in the way that she has, which is brutal. And we use that word a lot, but I don't want to underemphasize, like, how she handles Nora is brutal. It is abhorrent. And it is so emotionless in the moment because there is that compartmentalizing of everything. But it is entirely driven by this being robbed from her, by this world in which she had effectively said to Joel, "You're not forgiven now, but in time." And she's been robbed of that future. And Ellie has had so much taken away from her that she is not in control of. And it explains why she is acting the way she is. She's trying to assert control. And the only way that she knows how to do so is through violence. This is the culmination of her character, of everything kind of coming together. And I think that, yeah, we could wait for it and we could come to that realization later. Why not now? Like, let's
Yeah.
let's have our cake and eat it. Like, let's have this while we can. And I can't praise the performances enough. The addition, because in the game, Joel doesn't say that he loves Ellie. I think it's said, but it's not said. Like, it's kind of, it's there but unsaid. I don't think that that's gilding it too much. I think that it's a worthy addition, because I think it hits even harder now, knowing that Joel did say that, and that it's almost like the ultimate barrier from him has come down, and he reveals that he's weak, because he loves her. And I say that like he's weak. I don't mean it in a detrimental way. That he is almost like a slave to that emotion, much in the way that, and we talked about the parallels with the cordyceps, much in the way of like many kind of acts of violence occurring in nature. It all stems from a profound sense of love and protection. And yeah, it's exhibited in very different ways. But this is his. Yeah, it's incredible. And if they don't at least get nominations, I will be furious, because it was outrageously good.
Yeah. And we do also get a small shout out to the tiny moment with the coffee, which it just enhances the coffee beans placed on the grave in that other scene. So
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful, it's wonderfully acted, really stellar scene that is long overdue. And to your point of putting the scene here rather than in season 3, not holding out until then, I do agree. I think they needed to make this choice, because if they didn't, this happens, and it pisses me off every time it happens. But like a Squid Game is a prime example, in my opinion, of, instead of it feeling like 3 distinct seasons, it feels like, okay, there's season 1, and then there's season 2A, and there's season 2B.
Yes.
And for this to feel like its own full season with a full story, they needed to have this in it. So I think it was definitely the right move to have this scene here rather than stretch it out, be like, well, we could get more Pedro in season 3 if we wait. So yeah, I thought this was a really good decision to have the scene here.
I don't think I can forgive you for this. But I would like to try.
Then, although really kind of we talked about already, we kind of jump back to the present. We get Ellie kind of walking alone, returning from having dealt with Dora in the rain, really kind of silent and steely looking, after having done what's been done. I am so excited for what is to come because obviously we have a lot of things to resolve. I'm really looking forward to like how this is going to play out. For one, just to see how Ellie's mental state is after doing what has been done, but also to deal with the fallout of Jesse. Will Jesse be told everything that's going on? The dynamic between the three of them. There's a lot to look forward to. I think in the next episode.
Yep.
Gosh, Jess, bumper episode this is. This is the one that I've been looking forward to most. Knowing that Neil Druckmann was directing was just immediate kind of like, okay, this is the standout episode. And then some of the kind of the screener reviews started coming in, and everyone was saying six is one to look out for. And this really didn't disappoint, especially because I'd gone into this thinking that 6, at least early on, or at least one episode, was going to be an entire Eugene episode.
Yeah.
That didn't manifest in the end. Eugene, very small moment, profound but small moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about the episode as a whole?
I mean, I think it's my favorite episode of the season. I think, again, I have some issues with it. Overall, I leave this conversation about it feeling better about some of my concerns. I think you're right about certain aspects of Ellie knowing versus the knowing. But this is also just like, I've missed Pedro Pascal as much as I understand, like, he doesn't need to be on our screen every episode. Like, it's better that they did it this way versus sprinkling in the flashbacks. I think I was happy to have them all on one episode. It was lovely. Like, it has some of my favorite moments from the game, and I feel like they did such a great job at portraying them on the screen. So yeah, I really loved this episode, and it just has me even more. And I'm glad we ended it with Ellie going back to the theater because it resets where we are for the finale. I think that's really important because we just spent an entire episode in flashbacks. So to have this final scene be like, don't forget, we gonna fight now, is incredible. And yeah, I can't wait for the finale next week.
Yeah, I think it's a real, like, it's great to have a reminder, but again, it's another touch of class just to kind of bring it back and be like, here's everything that's happened. And this is why she is the way she is in this moment now. Enjoy. And like, and setting it up. Wonderful. So I think that probably brings us to the end of at least a spoiler-free discussion on this week's episode. So if you're heading out at this stage, if you're not a player of the games, or you're not wanting to know possible spoilers for what comes next episode, thank you for listening. Please do consider subscribing if you're not already, leaving a review or dropping us any comments. Any of that really does help us out. But also, we really love reading them. It's been phenomenal to see like some people's reactions to the episodes and to the podcast as well, which is just wonderful. But if you are still here and you're looking to dig a little deeper with this for a little bit, this is where we're going to get into the full story with the full context of the games and what we know is coming ahead. with the very limited footage that is been released. So spoilers from here on out. Oh boy, there is some big spoilers ahead, obviously. What with the episode preview at the very least. The episode preview showed quite a bit. Firstly, obviously, Ellie arriving back to the theater.
Mhm.
I sincerely hope it's at least a little bit faithful to the game. What with Ellie being profoundly shaken up by the experience, being almost
Mhm.
slightly catatonic a little bit with and trying to mentally reconcile with what she's done to Nora. I hope that that's at least conveyed. Um, yeah, it feels sadistic to say that I'm really looking forward to that. Is that bad? Should I
No,
get
I
just a
think that
guess?
should be her reaction. I think if it's not that, it will feel disappointing because I think that's a
Mhm.
huge part of her journey. I definitely saw a little clip of I think it was her and Jesse running, which I'm like, especially with our guesses as to where the season would end, that it would end with Abby confronting Ellie after she just shot Jesse. So we'll see if that happens next episode. Obviously we have like them talking about Jesse basically being like, we need to leave, you don't even know what war you're in the middle of,
Yeah.
which WLF and Seraphites stuff. But something I saw that I didn't think we were gonna get, that it looks like we're gonna get, is the boat. I didn't think we'd get any of the boat stuff.
Same. This is wild. Because obviously we're not getting flooded Seattle that we've seen already. It seems that
Mhm.
perhaps we might be avoiding that. We're certainly getting storm Seattle,
Right.
and the cover for the war that's going to happen, which I think is great. It certainly sets the atmosphere massively. But yeah, with the moment I saw that little boat, I was like, holy shit, we're actually getting that. I did not expect
Mhm.
that in the slightest. Um, eh, but I guess it kind of is necessary because again, we talk about like bookending of themes. Why not have a boat that takes Ellie towards that destination? And obviously, at the end of the game, we need a boat to get them away from it, and that's
Yeah.
symbology there. So I'm really happy that we are getting that. The giving of the bracelet as well for good luck. Tina's
Mhm.
bracelet being given to Ellie. Oh, I
I
feel
just
like we're really in safe hands. I think this is a slam dunk. Like
Are
it'd
we
be
gonna have
so
time
difficult for them to
for
really mess it up.
are we gonna have time for Mel and Owen though?
I think we're gonna get much like in the game. I think we're gonna get just Ellie's perspective. I think that she's
Yeah.
gonna turn up. Abby's not gonna be there. We're gonna get that, and it's gonna leave a lot of questions at the end of this episode from people that haven't played the game as to what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Um, I maybe they're gonna leave it a big mystery, or maybe they kind of are gonna layer a few more clues in. I don't know, but
Yeah.
based on everything we've seen, I'm thinking they're gonna be quite faithful to things.
I know the only thing that I'm like not hesitant, more so like that's how I describe my feelings. Is that like I want the finale to be like an hour and a half. Like I feel like there's so much to do in so little time. But they've done more with less. So
Yeah.
I have full confidence they can pull off a good finale. I'm just more upset that again we're only getting 7 episodes. Like, oh, we could have done 8, could have done 10.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's fine. Whatever. We'll see. I think the promos look exciting. So I'm pumped.
They really do. Just scrubbing through the preview now. I think we definitely are getting Mel and Owen because there's a shot of Ellie overlooking like a dock that seems to be walking. Now, this could be
Yes.
Ellie trying to get the boat, maybe. So maybe I
Could
could be
be.
mistaken here, but I'm seeing two figures. I'm like, oh, could be Mel, could be Owen. I think I might have just talked myself out of it, but it could be. But
We'll see.
the one thing I hope we don't get is Alice. We can cut Alice. I'd be happy. I don't need that in
Yeah,
my life.
for those who
I
don't
don't need.
remember, Alice is the dog, because the WLF
Yeah.
uses dogs, in in their militia sort of a situation, and Ellie kills Alice too.
Yeah.
So brutal.
So brutal.
We don't need that show, okay? We've seen dogs. We know they exist in this universe. We know that the people use them to find people and infected. We don't need to be killing dogs on our screen, okay? All right? Please
Don't
don't.
need that on my Sunday nights.
Please don't do it. The show's traumatic enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Anything else in terms of stuff to come? Any kind of comments on this episode with the kind of framing, obviously, for the full game? Obviously, big changes. What with bringing the porch scene much earlier.
Mhm.
Do you think that it's going to dramatically affect the fact that we won't get the porch scene coming immediately after the well, no, we don't get it. We get it after the return back home. But after the fight with Abby in the water, like, how's that gonna? Because
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna have to change how they handle that when it does eventually come to that.
Yeah, I think they could still make it work. Like we could get some visuals of like Ellie's moments with Joel, right? Like there's a way they could do it in a more like artsy fartsy way, less so
Mm-hmm.
flashbacky. They could definitely make it work. I'd rather have them have it here and then have to do a little bit of work on the other side of things, and they have nothing but time to figure that
Yeah.
out, you know. So I think they could do it because they're we talked about this, like the actual storyline, the timeline, the story progression had to change from video game to show because it's really complicated in the video game. And I think you have to streamline it a bit for viewers. So I think that it was a good choice to have the porch scene here and then just kind of figure out a different way to connect Ellie back to Joel when we get way down the road with her versus Abby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think come the end of next episode, we're gonna have a lot to talk about in terms of like possible structure for season
Yeah.
3. I think that there's gonna be a lot of kind of questions as to what the hell they're gonna do with what remains. Because yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, there's a lot to churn through. Oh gosh, I'm exhausted, Jess. This was
It's an emotionally exhausting show.
It really is. But we do find ourselves at the end. So let's finish things out like we always do by channeling a bit of Will Livingston. So, Jess, what did the moth say when Joel came clean?
Mothballs. What are moths? Okay, I don't know. Something else. He's finally seen the light.
Finally, a little light on the subject.
Yes!
Well done. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye bye.